Today I'll introduce you to a 2009 movie called Symbol, featuring comedy, fantasy, and mystery elements. Spoilers are coming up, so be cautious. A Japanese man wearing really colorful pajamas wakes up in a completely white, empty room that lacks doors, windows, and even a visible ceiling. As he approaches one of the walls to examine it more closely, he discovers something odd sticking out, a protrusion resembling a male's private part. After giving it a couple of pokes, he pushes its tip, resulting in a of giggling baby angels emerging from the floor and walls. They only stick around for a brief moment before vanishing the way they appeared. However, they leave a strange aftermath, similar protrusions from the wall and floor, marking the learning phase. The man sniffs his finger that touched the peculiar button, leading him to scream in fear and then cry out, pleading for help from anyone who might be nearby, all to no avail. Frustrated, he decides to experiment by pressing various buttons, each press causing a different random object to drop into the room, ranging from a tiny toothbrush to a large vase. Pressing the same button again yields the same object. This is how he ends up with a large pile of chopsticks through repeated presses of a particular button. His enjoyment is short-lived, though, as pressing the adjacent button brings forth a small cart that strikes his legs painfully. Continuing with his button-pressing ordeal, he encounters a button that transforms into a buttock's shape, releasing gas onto his face. As time goes on, the man amasses a diverse collection of random objects in the room. He throws a ball at the wall, inadvertently pressing a button that delivers sushi, which excites him due to his hunger. However, he realizes he's missing soy sauce. Despite requesting it from his captors and receiving no response, he persists in pressing a button repeatedly, leading to an accumulation of sushi without the desired sauce. Eventually, he gives up and starts eating the sushi, finding it quite delicious. After finishing the sushi, he presses the button for more and becomes infuriated when a bottle of soy sauce finally appears. Angrily pushing the bottle aside, he presses another button and acquires a pair of old-school 3D glasses. Upon wearing them, he spots a baby angel pointing at his male part, sparking happiness as he believes he might have found a clue. However, after pushing that specific button, all he receives is a countdown and a massive rear end descending from above to release gas on him. Several hours later, he's read 5 volumes of a manga that he finds incredibly enjoyable. Yet, when he pushes a button expecting the 6th volume, he's surprised to receive the 7th instead. Frustrated, he starts experimenting with other buttons. Buttons 8 and 9 follow, but still no sign of the elusive 6th. The final button he tests, however, holds an important surprise. It reveals a hidden door behind a section of the wall. The man celebrates this discovery but, in his excitement, loses track of which button triggers the door's opening. Trying a button at random, he's shocked to witness an African tribesman racing from wall to wall. The next button douses him with water, and the third one he tries turns out to be the key to the exit. Unfortunately, the door slams shut on him as he rushes towards it. His second attempt yields the same outcome. It's only then he realizes the door stays open when the button's tip is held down. He starts exploring different methods to achieve this. Initially, he adopts a runner's stance to press it with his foot. Then, he employs a fly swatter to reach from a distance, hoping it would alter his running time. Both attempts fail, as do pulling it with a jump rope and using the air from a fan to hit it. His next strategy involves getting on a cart and pushing it after pressing the button. But control proves elusive. What he truly needs is a way to keep the button pressed down. Placing a large vase atop it proves ineffective, as the button manages to pop back up. Realizing he must increase the vase's weight, he attempts filling it using the water button. Unfortunately, the water merely splashes onto him. His subsequent effort involves filling the vase with sushi, resulting in it becoming too heavy to lift. With the vase's narrow neck preventing him from reaching in, he resorts to using chopsticks to extract sushi piece by piece. Eventually, he succeeds in lifting the vase and carrying it closer to the buttons. Yet, as he tries one, the African tribesman emerges and accidentally collides with the vase, causing it to crack and break. Pushed to his limits, the man frantically searches for the right button amidst his outbursts, finally covering it with sushi. Regrettably, this tactic also fails, as the button reappears amidst the rice. He attempts covering it with tape and a steel plate, but none of these approaches prove effective. After taking pain relievers to cope with the door's impact on his back and taking a nap, he decides to brush his teeth, pressing a button to obtain water. But that button was totally wrong, and this one shows a rope dropping from the ceiling. This immediately lifts his spirits because he gets an idea for a new plan. He opens the door, then uses the rope to swing himself across the room and get through before the door shuts. Sadly, when he tries the door behind the fake wall, he finds it's locked. He gets back to the room just in the nick of time before the door closes. However, it manages to hit him on his way out regardless. Frustrated, he kicks the wall, triggering one of the buttons and uncovering a key floating in the room. Just like the door situation, the key disappears when the button pops out again. So now, the guy needs to figure out how to keep both the key and the door accessible. But first, he needs to locate the button again since he got sidetracked and lost track of it. By estimating where his foot would have landed when he kicked the wall, he selects a button, only to have a dog come out of the wall barking at him. The same thing happens with the next button, but fortunately, the third attempt succeeds. While he keeps his eyes on the button and points at it, he steps back and grabs a piece of sushi fish. He takes it back to the wall and uses it to mark the correct button. When he presses it again, the dog emerges once more. This time he finds the button faster and proceeds with his plan, summoning the rope and swinging on it to reach the different buttons, but it's still not enough. As he drops to the floor, he spots a plunger he had obtained from one of the many buttons. An idea strikes him on how to tackle his predicament. He can use the plunger to press against the wall and propel himself further. After an initial failed attempt, the plan goes smoothly. The combination of swinging on the rope and using the plunger as leverage allows him to press the button, snatch the key, hit the door button, and get to the door before it shuts. He acts quickly, inserting the key and turning it rapidly. But when he tries to open the door, there's an unpleasant surprise. It also has an additional lock on top that requires 3 numbers to unlock. The man rushes out, taking a hit from the door as it closes. Frustrated, he hurls the plunger at the opposite wall, unintentionally triggering the button that releases an African tribesman. As he watches the tribesman pass by, something dawns on him. There are 3 numbers painted on the tribesman's forehead, likely the combination he needs. Since time is limited behind the closing door, the man goes through the process of swinging on the rope and jumping 3 times, once for each number. On the 3rd attempt, he remains there and opens the door, which requires an extra push to budge. Finally managing to do so, the wall behind him slams shut, leaving him trapped with little space to finish opening the door. Overwhelmed, the man sits on the floor and starts crying, reminiscing about the fun he had with the objects from the buttons. He recalls being confined there before, but at least he had room to move and things to occupy himself with. Now he realizes he didn't value what he had while he had it. Suddenly, he feels a gust of air on his face coming from the left wall. As soon as he touches it, he discovers a crack indicating it's fake. He wastes no time and pushes the panel open before dashing out of there, eventually arriving in a mysterious hallway suspended in a pitch-black void. It feels like he spends an eternity running towards an exit, and when he finally enters a room, his hair is longer and the colors of his pajamas have faded. This room is also empty, and the door he enters through promptly shuts, but unlike before, there are adult angels instead of baby angels. These adult angels disappear into the wall, leaving only their appendages to be used as buttons. This is the part called practice. Meanwhile, down in a Mexican city, Antonio's family is concerned because his father, a wrestler known as Escargot Man, is acting quieter than usual. His wife thinks it might be because his next opponent is much younger, but the grandfather points out that experience matters more than youth. Escargot Man gets picked up by his daughter, Sister Karen, in her truck. She drives him to the wrestling arena to start preparing early, which involves changing clothes and praying to the Virgin. At school, Antonio is getting teased by his classmates for supporting Escargot Man, with them calling him a weak loser. As the match time approaches, Sister Karen uses her van again to pick up Antonio and their grandfather. They head to watch Escargot Man in action. Karen doesn't stay, though. Antonio and his grandfather manage to find seats just before the show begins. The first team to enter the ring is the Northern Tough Ones, consisting of Super Demon and Tequila Joe. Then Escargot Man and his partner Silver Eagle come in as a team called Kiss Me a Lot. Silver Eagle starts the fight brilliantly, but he's soon overwhelmed when the Northern Tough Ones gang up on him. They signal Escargot Man to join, but he refuses until Silver Eagle tricks Super Demon and Tequila Joe into hitting each other, allowing him to escape. Escargot Man is soon overpowered as well. However, just as his opponent is about to strike him with a chair, A man in a mysterious room presses a button and magically elongates Escargot Man's neck. He knocks out both opponents with a headbutt. In the room, nothing happens, so the man keeps pressing the button, causing Escargot Man to knock out Silver Eagle, the referee, Antonio, and even the bell. Seeing no results, the man starts trying other buttons. One button makes a metal band singer breathe fire over the crowd at a concert in Los Angeles. Another button causes a Russian magician's trick to fail when attempting to make his assistant disappear. The third button makes a man in China bark at his own dogs. The man is about to give up when he sees light from above. Unlike the previous room, this one has no ceiling, and he can see angels flying in the distance. He decides to try something different this time. Instead of pressing the buttons, he uses them to climb the walls. It works, and each time he touches a button with his hands or feet, something amazing happens on Earth. The effects become more complex as he climbs higher, encompassing not just nature but also human creations, big and small. When he reaches the top, his hair and beard have grown long, and he can float like the angels. Drawing from his experience gained in the previous rooms, he takes on the role of God and purposefully selects humanity's significant moments rather than randomly pressing buttons. Once he's finished, he's surrounded by feathers instead of walls, and he enters a glowing portal that leads him to the final room. This room has the continents on its walls and the massive button that the man is about to press. This is the phase known as future.